Not sure. All right, guys. So we're heading into round 3 here of FNM tonight, and I and a couple other people are going to head off to the big open this weekend. So we're going to leave you in Andrew's very capable hands here. And hopefully, I don't know if you can have matches quite as good as the ones we already had.
Probably not. Both of these matches, all the matches that we've had tonight have been in one way impressive. Whether it's the amount of creatures on the table or just the fact that the two players are drawing a gratuitous amount of cards.
Yeah. I had... this was really cool. But I hope you guys stick around and keep watching. And remember that next weekend...
Andrew
will be commenting on the Star City. Yeah, there you go, the Star City Regionals. So
how do you feel about that? $5,000 in cash prize.
And 20 points, which
20 points.
Sadly I possibly care more about than the money.
Sure. Not
well, and maybe not because it's the first place is for the polo pool.
Okay.
But I'll be playing, and I'll be hoping to win money and hoping to gather up points and continue to see if I can take down season 1. But that should be a good time all over the place. So if you guys are players, you should play. If you guys are viewers, you should view.
There you go.
And if you're aspiring commentators, you should listen to Andrew.
Well, Joe, thank you for joining me in the booth today. Good luck.
Thanks.
Have fun in Indy.
All right.
All right, let's get back. Alex Presig and Joe Chott here with a Abzan face-off. We've got Abzan Control versus Abzan Aggro. Both players getting ready to start here as round 3 begins. Alex Presig, definitely known around the shop for playing these Abzan lists. Has tried them, since Fate Reforged, since Cons. Definitely enjoys these kind of lists that play very aggressive outs to cards. So it'll be interesting against Joe Chott, recently jumping back in, playing the Abzan aggro list, similar to what we saw Max Khan play in round 1. So we'll see what these players have to offer us here. Game record's going to come up as 0-0 as the game gets underway and the match begins. We wish Joe Lissette and all the rest of the NRG guys who are heading down to Indy this weekend to play the best of luck, and hope they do well in the regionals coming up now too. So let's look at the opening hand. Alex Presig keeping it kind of close to the chest there. He does have land. Looks like he's pretty happy with it. It's on Abzan Charm. We'll see what Joe decides to do. Sandsteep Citadel, go. Alex is going to play a Temple Scry. Keeps it on top, it looks like. See if Joe can lead off with the usual early aggressive play, maybe a Raksha Death Dealer, but we're going to actually see the Blood-Soaked Champion, the 2-1 with Raid. Alex takes another Scry. Decides he's going to keep that as well. I thought sees you. Alex will drop to 18. Let's see what you got, Joe. He is going to see Siege Rhino. What appears to be a Herald of Torment, Abzan Charm, a Mana Confluence, and a Unknown in between the Siege Rhino and the Abzan Charm. I can't quite see it. Jotting the list down here. Now I like this. I believe Joe Chott playing this deck previously had a pretty good time with these Blood-Soaked Champions. The raid mechanic, when his opponent didn't kill them before combat, worked well in his favor. It was very strong. And we saw, here's Downfall. Okay, sure. Oh, and I'm sorry, it's a Master of the Feast, not an Abzan Charm. Interesting. So we have Master of the Feast, we have a Siege Rhino, and a Herald of Torment. So I'm assuming that Mana Confluence is going to come down this turn after combat. Alex going to drop to 16. Master of the Feast, a pretty aggressive card to be playing in decks like this. Joe Chott taking 1 from the Mana Confluence. And there he is, Master of Feast, the 5/5 flying for 3 that at the beginning of your upkeep, your opponent gets to draw a card. A card that really puts pressure on the board, but also gives your opponent some hard choices. Do they want to deal with it? Do they want to leave it alive and see what they can potentially draw off of it? Do they want to kill it on your upkeep after the draw steps, so they're at least allowed to draw a card and then kill it, potentially leaving their own mana down? Definitely. So Joe will announce the trigger. Alex says, I will not kill it. I will draw my extra card. Let's see what Joe wants to do. So we'll go to combat. I will swing. Abzan, charm your guy away, Alex says. Takes 2. From the Blood-Soaked, I believe. Going to stay at 16. Though, interesting. Drops to 14 there. Doesn't adjust his dice. Joe Chott now with Siege Rhino in hand. Can't cast off the tap Temple of Malady. And Alex's own Siege Rhino enters the battlefield. Puts him up to 17. Drops Joe down to 16. Actually, Joe at 15 now. Alex at 17. Joe taking care of the Siege Rhino. Untaps. Let's see what he picks up. Studying over the mana. Gonna burn myself with Mana Confluence. Play my own Siege Rhino. Alex will drop to 14. Joe will go to 18. I'm sorry, 17. Alex will take 2. Off of the attack. The Bloodsoaked Champion doing work. Maybe it's not demanding that Alex remove it, but it's definitely a hard card to get rid of. Alex kind of mulling over his options here. Has a Siege Rhino in hand that he could run out. Has a Thoughtseize, kind of concerned whether or not he wants to play it. Looks like he's got an Ugin in his grip and possibly an End Hostilities. Let's see what he decides to do. Oh, putting his land back in hand. Decides to Siege Rhino. Go up to 15. Drop Joe down to 14. Now he says, I'll play my land. I will tap it. I will Thoughtseize you. Put myself at 13. Sees Hero Downfall and Herald of Torment. Adjusting their life die there, so we get the correct information. I will take your Hero's Downfall. You can keep your Herald of Torment. Risky play? If he decides to... Well, there's an extra land, so now bestowing the Herald of Torment seems like a quality play here. It looks like it's the line that Joe's going to take. I'm going to bestow. My Rhino now has Wings of Faith and will attack. Presig will choose to block the Bloodsoaked Champion. Drop to 6 off of the attack from the Flying Siege Rhino. And we'll see. Oh, Abzan Charm in hand. Not so effective against the Rhino. Gonna scry here. And we'll go to combat. Drop Joe down to 10. And potential for an End Hostilities, which will still leave Alex with... Well, no, it'll still leave Joe with the Herald of Torment. Let's see what Alex decides to do. It potentially has another play in hand that we could not see. Joe down to 9. Missing the Herald of Torment trigger. Let's see what we get. That'll be the End Hostilities. So Alex now banking on the Abzan Charm to remove the Herald. But it is unnecessary, as End Hostilities will also destroy the Herald in the process. So Joe is in top deck mode. Let's see what he decides to do. Rakshasa Death Dealer, not a bad draw off the top. Another hard card for Alex to deal with. Alex sitting with Ugin in hand. And the mana to potentially cast him, not on this turn, but maybe on next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he's still a little short there. That Rakshasa now presents a pretty big threat. Go to combat. Swing. No blocks. I will pump once. Alex, I believe, informing his opponent that he does in fact have an Urborg, so you do not need to ping yourself. I will pump again. We're going to see Abzan Charm. I will exile him. Alex going to untap, upkeep, draw. What did he get? Oh, that's a Courser. Not a bad card. Play a land. Jump up to 7. Alex now definitely closer to casting the Ugin he's been holding in his hand for quite a while. Looks like Joe is just ripping land off the top. Alex will flip. Can't see what it is. I will tap. And here comes the Big Daddy. So Ugin is probably going to start Ghost Flaming, kids. Joe taking a second here to read the new Dragon Planeswalker. Joe will drop to 6 after the Ghost Flame. Alex is clear for attacks here too. No reason to hold back the Courser. I mean, Joe has no cards in hand, has mana untapped. It seems kind of silly not to squeak in the extra points of damage as you can just apply lethal next turn. And there's a Gray Merchant. Joe and Alex going to trade some life totals. I can't imagine the wasted attack was really good. I mean, the 2 extra damage is definitely helpful. Gain a life, up to 7 for Alex off the Courser. We will see another Ghost Flame effect. Drops Joe to 5. Unless my life totals are off. Which they appear to be, I'm sorry. So we're 7 to 8. Nope, I guess they're not. Slow on updating the dice. Let's see what we have here. Another Siege Rhino. Not bad at all. So Joe kind of just drawing straight off the top what he needs to keep himself in this game. Alex down to 4. Joe up to 8. Passes the turn. This Ugin is pretty big. Draws an Elspeth for Alex. What is the potential here? To ultimate Ugin eventually? Is that what he's... I mean, that's definitely where it can go. I don't know if that's what he necessarily wants to do. But it seems like a potential line of play, so I'm going to attack with my Courser now. So if I block with the Rhino, it gets Ghost Flamed. If I block with the Gray Merchant, it gets Ghost Flamed. Then I can play my Elspeth and minus to kill the Rhino. So Joel dropped to 6. Looks like Alex chose to remove the creatures with Ugin's minus ability. And play my Elspeth into an open board. Let's produce some tokens. So that's a safe line of play. Alex with an unknown in his hand. Joe has been drawn off the top for a majority of this game. Takes his draw. Has a Bio Blight to deal with the tokens for 1 round. Let's see what he... no other cards in hand, I believe. He's gripping his mana. And it looks like he will scoop it up there. Very interesting. So, Alex's main deck, playing both Ugin and Elspeth, a slew of removal, and still playing Siege Rhino. So that's definitely a strong one. We'll take a look here, go into the sideboards. For Alex's Abzan control list, we've got 2 Burmaz, 1 Utter End, 1 Garruk Apex Predator, 1 additional Ugin, 1 Liliana Vess, 1 Bioblight, 2 End Hostilities, 1 Glare of Heresy, 1 Nissa Worldwaker, 1 Ajani Mentor of Heroes, and 3 Drowning Sorrows. So let's see. What is Alex going to bring in? The Garruk seems strong here. The Ugin did work that game. I don't know if an additional one is necessary. I'm probably bringing in the End Hostilities, assuming Joe isn't going to sideboard into a more controlling version of the deck. I don't know if I necessarily like the Ajani Mentor of Heroes. The Nissa is also fairly interesting, as we saw very little removal from Joe's deck, save for 1 Hero's Downfall and a few Bioblights. Nissa would allow you to put some extra pressure on the board. So I think you'll definitely see probably the Garruk, maybe the Other End. The Bioblight, not so much. The End Hostilities, definitely. The Glare of Heresy, there's only 1 of, so I don't know if that's necessarily what you're looking for in this situation. It has the potential to remove a Siege Rhino, but, you know, I guess it also removes an Anafenza, but if there's only 1 of them in your sideboard, are you really siding it in to deal with, you know, certain things that you could just use your regular, more bountiful removal for? So looking at Joe Chott's Abzan aggro list here, he's got 3 Drowning Sorrows, 1 Anafenza, 1 Rakshasa Death Dealer, 1 Whip of Erebos, 3 Merciless Executioners, 3 Abzan Charms, 2 Despise, and 1 Gary is actually what he wrote on the deck registration sheet. And we all know that is Grey Merchant. I like the Merciless Executioner here, only for the ability to keep my creature alive while potentially hamstringing Alex's very weak creature base. I don't know if I so much like the Whip of Erebos, though I guess if I'm sideboarding in the extra Gary and maybe even the Merciless Executioners, they're potentially strong as a way to whip back removal when necessary if you have none in hand. The Abzan Charms, also okay for draw power there if you're getting stuck in the situation where you can't rip off the top as well as he was in Game 1. The Despises, I think, are fairly good for Joe in this match, if not to kind of allow him to just strip Alex of the really powerful cards that kind of overran him that game. But we'll see after they sideboard here how they're going to go about, you know, kind of completing this Game 2 after Alex rides the back of Ugin for Game 1. It's a 5-round tonight here at Nerd Rage Gaming for FNM. Rounds 1 and 2, I was joined by Team Nerd Rage's own Joe Lissette to kind of discuss the current standard game and how he had an experience yesterday playing in the Thursday Night Magic. So we'll see how these guys go about it here. for those of you just joining us, make sure you jot down in your calendars. We have SCG Regionals coming up February 7th, hosted by Nerd Rage Gaming. First 200 players to register will receive the limited edition SCG Regional playmat featuring the 4 squirrel arts and also a playset of foil squirrel tokens. That's the first 200 players to register. And pre-registration is now open on nerdragegaming.com under the pre-registration event page. So make sure you get on there. I am not going to Indy. A few of the team members have already taken off and are headed down there. I know Noah, Joe, Norm will all be in Indy. I am hanging out at Nerd Rage Gaming's new store that we managed to just get cleaned up and opened. So if you're in the Chicagoland area, swing on by the shop and say hello. I will be hanging out here. So we'll see a Temple of Malady lead off by Joe. Decides to go to Scry, gonna keep it on top. Likes what he sees. See a Temple from Alex. Double checking his Scry. Seems like he's got a fairly decent opener. Land spells. You can't really ask for much. Joe's going to draw land 2. We'll see another Blood-Soaked Champion. Oh no, we'll see the Despise. So this is where I think he has the potential to really strip Alex of power early on. So we see 4 land, potentially Courser, Glare of Heresy, and Abzan Charm. Now, that was something me and Joe talked about earlier, is whether or not with cards like Despise, do you want to hold that in your hand in these games against the control lists to potentially hit one of their larger threats later on, after, around turn 4, 5, and 6, when they're getting ready to play these Planeswalkers. Is that really when you want to Despise them, so you can see if they've drawn into one of the endgame threats, especially after a card we saw in a previous match where the control player was casting multiple dig through times and was obviously searching for a way to end the game. So we see Joe with a Master of the Feast out, trying to once again just end the game quickly with the 5/5 flyer for 3. We'll see. Alex will probably allow this to live and then kill it on Joe's turn as he did before. There's the free cards. The free card being a Siege Rhino. You can't be mad about that. Definitely something Alex likes to see. The Mana Confluence. There's the swing. Met with the Abzan Charm. Goodbye. Goodbye, Master of the Feast. You did okay. You tried. You tried to get in there for 5. Let's see what else Joe has to play. Tap it for 3. That will be a Herald of Torment. I'm not 100% sure if he just drew into that, if that was if it was something he picked up before the Master of Feast. I'm almost more prone to run that out, make Alex waste the Abzan Charm on it, and then try to, I guess, let the Herald eat the removal, allow me to play my Master, keep my Master online, to potentially defend against cards like this. I mean, I'm assuming this is going to be Dr. Siege. Well, if Alex didn't just drop Dr. Siege, Dr. Siegington Rhino, you have the mana tapped, Alex. You got a Siege Rhinoceros. You want to play it. You want to do it. No, interesting. So we'll see a Sorin. Very interesting. So I'll make a vampire token. Keep up at the defense for quite a bit longer. Both players at 19 currently. Trying to see if he wants to block. He will. what could Joe have in store? Hero's Downfall, you're Soren. So I've removed the token. My Herald is still up. Alex definitely slow rolling the Siege Rhino in hand, but we might see it this turn. Maybe waiting for the removal from Joe to clear before playing the Siege Rhino. So see this swing there, 16 to 22. Unless Alex had to burn for life there, which it doesn't look like he did. So I'm wondering if we just don't have the adjustment. Gonna go to combat. Gonna swing. Alex says no blocks. See a blood-soaked champion coming out from Joe. Alex, moving to combat. Do I want to get in with the Rhino? Yes, I do, but I feel like there is removal. So, it will eat a Abzan Charm. Joe will burn himself for 1 with the Mana Confluence. And I will end hostilities. So Joe down to 13, having to take 1 off of the Landwar Waste as well. Alex probably happy with the end hostilities, at least to sweep up 2 creatures. Joe definitely playing defensively this match, as he's been able to run out a pretty reliable amount of threats. Speak of the devil, another Herald of Torment. Alex mulling over his options here. Play another Dr. Siege. When in doubt. That should drop Joe to 10, bring Alex to 22. But once again, it says he's at 19. I'm going to assume he's at 21, 22. There he goes. All right, so he's got it. That's what I was waiting for. I'm going to lose a life and then hopefully get in for damage here. Should drop Alex to 19 as there are no blocks against the Flying Herald. Let's see. He's going to fetch, drop down to 18. Joe with 2 cards in hand, Alex with 1. Oh no, Alex has 2 as well, I'm sorry. He's got it tucked under there. There we go. Adjusting the life dice to help me out. I can't imagine that this aggro deck is very well placed against the control list. I mean, having used so much removal just to deal with the few creatures that Alex has, actually played. On top of the fact that you still have to be careful that the Planeswalkers in Alex's decks do exist. So as Joe's using these Heroes Downfalls to kind of clip the Siege Rhinos and Coursers and things like that, he has to also remember that Alex does play Ugin. He has to respect the fact that Liliana or Garruk could potentially have been brought in. Nissa could have been brought in. We saw Soren earlier. I mean, these are all powerhouse cards that could potentially come out to ruin the game. But we'll see a Gray Merchant, which is definitely in favor of Joe here. Should be a shift of life totals. Joe going up to 12, Alex to 15. If I'm correct, should be 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sorry, Joe had to burn himself with the Mana Confluence. It's an interesting Gray Merchant, obviously huge card in previous iterations of Standard. Was giant in the really aggressive mono black deck with Pack Rat. Has obviously fallen off now as Devotion has kind of gone to the wayside, save for the newer green Devotion decks that are beginning to pop up, and some of the new green-black Constellation lists are also playing. We'll see a Bioblight from Alex onto the Herald of Torment, which leaves us now with a Gray Merchant to bash into a Courser and a Courser to bash into a Gray Merchant. It'll be fairly interesting to see what Joe has to play. Dr. Siege is a good card to play. The Dr. Rhinopolis. A force to be reckoned with in the current Standard meta. Him and the ever powerful Goblin Rebel Master. We'll see an Utter End draw from Alex, which is definitely a card we were talking about when it came to sideboarding options. I mean, just a super strong card. Play a Land War Waste off the top. Go up to 11. And there's an End Hostilities. Boy. I mean, if you're Alex, you're looking for probably a Planeswalker you can stick here. Backed up by some potential removal. And we'll see an Ugin. So if you are Ugin, you are minusing, I assume, to destroy all of those creatures and get them out of there. And if this is another situation where Joe has no cards in hand, which he does not, it is back to top deck mode. And let's see if he rips something good. He's tapping mana. That's a whip, so not a bad card to draw right now. Has the potential to whip back any number of creatures here to really put Alex in a tight spot. And I think, once again, another great card to have been brought in from the sideboard. So here's where we really see the players' choices coming into play. 11 all after the Ghostfire. But there's the Utter End that Alex had drawn previously to take care of that spooky whip. End Hostilities in hand. I will pass back. Alex has to ride on the back of Ugin now. Rakshasa Death Dealer, also not bad. Can survive the End Hostilities. Can survive the Ghost Flame. Cannot survive the minus from Ugin. Ghost Flame targeting the Rakshasa? Nope, he minused the Ugin. So let's see if Joe can... Oh, that's an Anafenza. I'm pretty sure End Hostilities will take care of this. Pretty snappy. Ghost Flame targeting you. Drops Joe down to 8. So this is the... Oh, wow, was that... Just took out the Anafenza with the hero's downfall. This is the... As Joe would say, this Ugin has been out on the field for quite some time, and nobody has won yet. So it is very surprising. Ghost Flame, fire it off. And then I will play my Elspeth. Oh boy. And as I had said previously, this is where you want to be if you're Alex. You want to just ride ride on the back of your creatures that your opponent is trying to remove while you wait to draw into a progressively stronger board state with planeswalkers that they cannot answer. Looks like Joe is trying to kill himself with his own mana. And you'll see Alex go ahead and get there 2-0 against Joe Chott in the Abzan aggro list. So Abzan Control going to take this. An interesting matchup is they're playing essentially, I don't want to say similar decks, because looking at Joe's deck, it looks like he's splashing Abzan just for the potential to play cards like Siege Rhino and Abzan Charm. When in reality, I have to wonder if maybe just playing a mono black type of aggression deck wouldn't suit him better. I feel like had he not had to play some lands that came to tap there, had he not had to play, on par with getting the right color, if he had just played strict mono black aggression, it kind of deadens some of the cards that Alex has in the deck. I mean, not a ton, but it at least allows Joe to be definitely on a more aggressive plan. You have Bloodsoaked Champion, you have Gnarl Scarhide, you have the Master of the Feast, you have the Herald of Torments. Mogus Marauder is still a card, and there's a few cards in Fate Reforged too that are not bad in a lot of these situations. Mardu Skullhunter was a card that people were looking at for these types of decks, to aggressively not only attack their opponent but attack their hand. Merciless Executioner to attack their blockers in their creature base. And you have to remember, especially with Whip, it's not always bad to whip back some of those cards after you've attacked just to trigger their raid bonus. You know what I mean? If it's late game and your opponent's trying to hold on to cards in their hand that they think are safe after your Despises and Thoughtseize, and you want to go ahead and whip back a Skull Hunter after you've attacked to make them discard these potential threats that they play against you, that's definitely kind of a game plan that you can play. Remember, a lot of these decks that are playing on these three colors are very slow early on. We saw a lot of people have great success with really aggressive decks. The red-white aggro lists from the recent Open. We've seen Bart Plonka and his almost mono-red splash white for burn Monastery Swiftspear, get you low, wait till you stabilize, and then kill you with the Deflecting Palm. So it'll definitely be interesting to see kind of the progression of how people who are playing these quote aggro lists want to play around the resurgence of control. We see Abzan control now. We see Sultai control. Once Ugin hit the scene, a lot of the control players kind of thought to themselves, hey, look, I can keep the board clear. I can remove a lot of creatures. Wait till I get to these fatty planeswalkers in Ugin and Garruk, and then hope to win the match through that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's definitely a stronger game plan than play Perilous Vaults, play awful uncommons with lifelink, and then try to live off of my Prolink Ancient. I mean, which is still a card, but you have to admit these control decks are a little bit better than the blue-black common control that we've seen in the past. So this was the end of round 3, guys. We'll be getting into round 4 shortly of a 5-round FNM here at Nerd Rage Gaming. Make sure you stick around and tune in. I will be back shortly with next round's pairings.